is feminism. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of the equality of the sexes. Feminism started out in the 1850s, which is now known as the first wave. This stood for issues such as the woman's right to vote, ride a bike, and so on. Then, in the 1960s, began the second wave, which included property rights, issues concerning sexual, reproductive, and economic issues, the workplace, sexuality, and family, and it still exists today, with active feminists all around the world fighting for issues such as toxic masculinity, rape culture, basic human rights in places such as the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, unrealistic body images, the objectification of the female body, and so much more. This is known as the third wave. It began in the 1990s. Feminism is demonstrated in so many forms, including protests, demonstrations, speech, policy, music, and what I'll be talking to you today, art. In particular, feminist art in New Zealand. Today, we will look at 3 New Zealand artists who are feminists and explore one of each of their artworks, explore the content and the artwork's relation to feminism. The first artist we will look at today is Rita Angus. Henrietta Catherine Angus was a New Zealand artist born on the 12th of March 1908 in Hastings, the eldest of 7 children of William Mackenzie Angus and Ethel Violet Crabtree. She attended Palmerston North Girls High School and went on to become one of the most well-known and successful artists in New Zealand history. She worked primarily in oil and watercolour and is well known for her portraits and landscapes. Angus's main influences for her work were Byzantine art and Cubism. Rita Angus was a pacifist, and as a result, a lot of her art in the 1940s has a strong pacifist feel. A quote from Rita Angus that displays her feminist beliefs is, "As an artist, it is my work to create life and not destroy it." In this period, she created 3 goddess images symbolizing peace.
You can't do that with that. It's going to go crazy. You need to get
Rita Angus wanted to avoid work that counted as supporting the war effort, and as a result, she took low-paying work and manual labour such as picking tobacco and apples before she moved to Wellington to design toys for a pacifist organisation. The painting we will focus on, in particular today, is a personal favourite of mine, the Goddess of Mercy. Rita Angus painted this work just after World War II finished. It was in dedication to her sister Edna, who died in 1939 on New Year's Eve. It was the first of her goddess series, shown earlier. Angus often drew female figures, of which a large portion were self-portraits, the vast majority of which had symbolic content to both Angus and the viewer of the artwork. This artwork displays a halo made out of branches surrounding the Goddess of Mercy, modelled after her deceased sister. She holds a yellow crocus. This flower has been known to symbolize cheerfulness, gladness, youthfulness, mirthfulness, and glee. In the background, we can see peaceful fields and 2 stags coming alongside her sister. In most cultures, the stag is considered to be the king of the forest and the protector of all other creatures. I believe this represents her sister, possibly watching over her after passing. And I believe that Rita Angus had the background this way to symbolize the fact that this is now peaceful, and the world is peaceful after World War II. It is also her passive way of expressing her love of peace and distaste for war. Now, when one looks at this piece of art, its main meaning, especially considering the context, is pacifism and not really feminism. However, feminism and pacifism go hand in hand, especially in these times, as well as the fact that whilst Angus painted a thing of beauty in the goddess of mercy, she also painted her strong. We can see toned forearms and broad shoulders. I believe Angus is trying to tell the viewer that while women are beautiful, they can also be strong, independent individuals who can enforce peace and mercy. Rita Angus displays the sun goddess as calm, self-contained individual who bears some resemblance to herself, which may be due to the fact that it was modeled after her sister. I truly believe that this artwork empowers women of the time and shows that they have a voice in such a male-dominated and violent time. The next artist we will explore is Jacqueline Fahey. Fahey was born in 1929 in Timaru and studied at the Canterbury University College School of Art and ended up graduating with a Diploma of Fine Arts in 1952. And she is credited with being one of the first artists in New Zealand to paint from a female perspective. She's been active in art since the 1950s to today, where she has recently released 2 memoirs titled Something for the Birds in 2006 and Before I Forget in 2012. She is considered to be a feminist icon in both New Zealand art and New Zealand in general. The artwork from Fahey we'll be looking at today is titled My Skirt in Your Fucking Room, painted in 1979. It depicts Fahey's 2 daughters having a disagreement about an item of clothing that has been stolen, the artwork that has been stolen. This artwork is set in the kitchen of a New Zealand household. We know or can at least assume it's a Kiwi household due to the layout of the kitchen with a large table, stove, the banister above it along with the corners. In the foreground we see a fruit bowl and an open letter and a copy of a book featuring women artists. This instantly informs the viewer that Fahey is interested in women's issues and women's art. I believe Fahey was trying to express the struggle a mother has in pursuing a career in general, but in particular a career in art, due to having to deal with the issues as shown in this artwork, along with so many other issues to do with children, the home, marriage, community lives, and relationships. You see, in the late 70s, and even to some extent today, the woman was expected to stay at home and raise the children, regardless of their career, and as a result, women artists were put at a severe disadvantage. As a result, I consider this artwork to be strongly feminist, despite the current culture Fahey wants to stand up for the rights and struggles and issues, and the world refuses to take note of. Fahey's form of feminism fits into the second wave of defending her right to be treated equally in terms of the workplace and domestics. She was a sort of trailblazer in terms of representing these issues and should be an inspiration to women everywhere, because she understood that women did not have to simply comply with how men wanted to run things and how men created art. A quote from Fahey that perfectly displays this is, "Art should come from what an artist knows about life. And if a woman knows, and what a woman knows is not what a man knows, then her art is going to have to be different." I believe Fahey is an inspiration to all women, both in the past and today. The third and final artist we will look at is Alexis Hunter. Alexis Hunter was born in 1948 and was a contemporary New Zealand painter and photographer who was renowned for using feminist theory in the late 60s. In the late 60s, she studied at Allen School of Fine Arts, where she was taught by Colin McCann about an artist's responsibility in terms of the effect they can have on society. This is where her feminist artwork roots were fostered and where she decided to make feminism a corner piece of her artwork. The artwork from Hunter we'll be looking at today is titled Pain, Destruction of Cause. In the masterpiece, we can see a series of 8 photos of a woman's shoe being held by the hand of a woman as it slowly burns. Each photo displays a different stage of the burning, until the last photo, where the fire is burnt and put, and the shoe is subsequently destroyed. This artwork is a play on the typical advertising techniques of the time, with a hand holding up a product to the camera to demonstrate its quality and desirability. There's a juxtaposition with the calm, delicate, petite female hand with nail polish and jewellery, and the burning shoe covered in flames and melted plastic, which appears to be so chaotic. Hunter wanted the shoe to represent how women are shown and portrayed on TV, music, and advertising. This artwork is a clear indication of Hunter's feminist position on the light society puts women. The slow burning is her way of showing that society extorts the image of women and objectifies them and disregards a woman's worth. Hunter fights back, however, using art as her weapon, and should be an example to feminists everywhere, as should all the artists we've looked at today. Thank you.